It was the kind of Sunday we were supposed to cherish: warm breeze, iced tea sweating on the table, the lake sparkling like a screensaver in the background. My parents' lake house outside Austin had been the go-to for family gatherings for over a decade. We'd built memories here. First swims, birthday cookouts, even Ethan's first fish caught off the dock. That place had history, and for a long time Ashley was part of it. That day, we were halfway through setting the table when Ashley texted, "Running late. Be there soon." No apology, just flat. My mom, always trying to stay upbeat, muttered something about traffic. I just nodded, chewing the inside of my cheek, pretending not to notice the way the silverware vibrated slightly in my hand. But something already felt off, like the calm before a storm I couldn't quite name yet. Then we heard the tires on gravel. 2 doors opened. I glanced up from the cooler, and there he was, Spencer. He stepped out first, tall and put together, in some kind of tailored button-down and slacks, like he was headed to a board meeting, not a lakeside lunch. His sunglasses reflected the sun off the water. Ashley climbed out next, laughing at something he said, tucking her hair behind her ear like she hadn't just shown up 40 minutes late with another man. I remember thinking, she didn't even text me about bringing him. Ashley wore this light blue dress I'd never seen before. It hugged her in a way that felt intentional, not over the top, not inappropriate, just noticeable. The bracelet on her wrist glinted in the light, new and delicate, like something picked from a boutique. Not her usual taste, but elegant. And oddly enough, it matched Spencer's cufflinks. Exactly. Same shade of metal, same sapphire tint. They walked up the path side by side. No physical contact. Sure, but their rhythm was synced. You could just feel it. The way their bodies tilted toward each other, how they paused at the same time, how they didn't even need to speak to move in sync. That kind of silent coordination doesn't come from the office. That comes from time. Spencer gave my dad a firm handshake and greeted my mom with a "so lovely to finally meet you." Like this was a debutante ball and not a last-minute family lunch. My mom smiled politely, though I noticed her eyes flicker toward me, searching for an explanation. I had none to give. Ashley leaned in, pecked my cheek. Not quite the kiss she used to give. Not the kind that lingered for a second longer than necessary, just a dry, drive-by touch. She smelled like some new perfume. Floral, expensive, unfamiliar. "We figured it made sense to drive together," she said, all light and casual, sliding her sunglasses into her bag. "We were just wrapping up the offsite, and Spencer's hotel is on the way." I raised an eyebrow. "You didn't mention he'd be coming." She blinked, a pause that wasn't long, but long enough. "Didn't I?" she said. "I thought I did. Sorry, it's been a hectic week." Spencer chuckled. "She's been running circles around the whole leadership team. You should be proud." She basically carried the entire marketing pitch. The way he said it made everyone smile, even my sister, who usually doesn't engage. But I just nodded, forced a polite chuckle. "Yeah, she works hard." Inside, though, my gut had already started doing slow flips. We sat down for lunch. My dad carved the grilled chicken. My mom passed the salad bowl around like clockwork. Spencer sat across from me, Ashley between us. He talked about the vision for the next quarter, made jokes about the CFO being the chief fun officer, and Ashley laughed harder than the joke deserved. At one point, while passing the deviled eggs, my mom asked him where he lived. "Currently splitting time between Dallas and our Chicago office," he said. "But lately more Austin. Ashley's been great about helping me adjust." I caught the look Ashley gave him. A flash of panic. A flicker of "shut up." He didn't catch it. "Actually," she interjected quickly, "we're part of the same client strategy pod now. Lots of collaboration." Then she turned the conversation right to me. "Noah's been really swamped lately," she said, picking up her water glass. "I keep telling him he needs to take a breath. He's been so distant." She didn't look at me when she said it, just stared into her glass. Distant. That one word hung there, heavy. The shift was subtle but strategic. She was getting ahead of something, putting that seed in everyone's mind before anyone could question her. My mom raised an eyebrow but said nothing. My dad looked down at his plate. Even Ethan paused mid-bite. I forced a tight smile and said, "Just trying to keep the lights on." The rest of the lunch blurred into meaningless conversation. Spencer this offsite, that budget cycles and Q4 goals. I didn't say much, just nodded, watched. My mind wasn't even on the words. It was on the bracelet, the cufflinks, the chemistry, the laughter that used to be mine. Later, when Spencer stepped out to take a call, some client thing that couldn't wait, I leaned over to Ashley and kept my voice low. "You could have given me a heads up." She didn't miss a beat. "I did. You must have missed it in the group chat." "There's no group chat." She just shrugged, her tone smooth. "It's not a big deal, Noah. He was already with me. It would have been rude to make him wait around." I nodded slowly. "And the matching accessories?" She blinked. "What?" "The bracelet. His cufflinks. That wasn't subtle." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Coincidence. We were at a vendor booth, they were handing out free samples." "God, Noah, you sound paranoid." I didn't respond, just looked out at the lake and clenched my jaw. The rest of the afternoon dragged. Spencer eventually left, saying he had a flight to catch. Ashley hugged everyone, waved like it was any other day. But when I offered to ride back with her, she said she had errands to run and would meet me at home. She didn't get in her own car. She got into his, and they drove off, that little blue dress disappearing down the gravel road. After that lunch at the lake house, something in me shifted, like a lever clicked down that I didn't know existed. I didn't say anything that day, didn't call her out or start a fight when she got home 3 hours later smelling like vanilla and hotel soap. I didn't even ask why she left with Spencer and returned alone. But I started watching, really watching, not like a jealous husband but like a man who already knew the truth, just not the full shape of it yet. Ashley always used to overshare. Random updates, texts about her day, **TS of memes I didn't understand. Somewhere along the way those dried up. Her phone, once left on counters and cushions and sometimes even forgotten in the car, became an extension of her. It was always in her hand or face down, locked, and one day the notifications stopped lighting up the screen altogether. She used to wear her old smartwatch for runs, mostly to track steps and listen to music. Then she got a newer one, a fancy upgrade that somehow never synced with our shared calendar, never buzzed with alerts, just silent. She said she turned off notifications to stay present. Maybe she thought I'd believe that. One night, I picked up her gym bag to move it off the couch, and I heard a thud, something inside. Not her water bottle or keys, something hard and dense. I unzipped it. A second phone. Turned off. No case. Tucked in a side pocket like it was nothing. I didn't touch it after that. Just stared at it for a while and zipped the bag closed. She never mentioned it. Never said it was a work phone or a backup. She just kept carrying it, like I hadn't seen it at all. And maybe that's when I realized. She was testing how much I'd tolerate, how far she could go before I said something. And I was failing the test. That same week, she added a second gym membership. I only found out because I was clearing out the credit card statements. One studio downtown for morning hit, and another across town for evening yoga. Who needs 2 memberships? I asked her once, and she brushed it off. They offer different things, she said, not even looking up from her laptop. Besides, I'm barely using them. But the mileage on her car told a different story. I started checking it once, twice a week. It didn't add up. 30 miles here, 50 there. Random spikes on days she claimed to be working from home. Some weeks it was like she was living a second life between errands. And then there was the jewelry. She never used to care about that stuff. Maybe a silver chain or earrings for events. But over the span of a month, she suddenly had 3 new pieces. A necklace she said was a birthday gift from a coworker. A set of earrings that came in a conference swag bag. And that bracelet from the lake house, the one that matched Spencer's cufflinks. I found the tag for it in the glove box. Still had the price sticker on it. Almost $400. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I just started gathering. quietly, like documenting an animal in the wild. I looked at her trip history, all those girls' weekends and company offsites. I pulled hotel receipts from our expense records, checked timestamps, looked at names. Once, she claimed she stayed with her college roommate Sarah for a 3-day retreat. But the hotel invoice for those dates had a guest named Emilia Torres, listed on the room under Ashley's rewards number. We don't know anyone named Emilia. She started withdrawing cash again, too. That was new. $40 here, $80 there. Always during work hours. I asked her once what it was for. She shrugged. Lunch. Tipping valets. Who tips valets in cash in 2025? Then came the messages. Or, more specifically, the lack of them. Ashley was always chatty on text. Her conversations with friends would pop up even when we were at dinner. Group chats. Silly inside jokes. And then, silence. Not just from her, but to her. No preview texts, no pings. Even her close friend Nina stopped tagging her in anything online. One afternoon, I picked up her iPad, which she hadn't used in a while, and found her iMessage backup hadn't synced in weeks. Deleted threads, muted notifications, dozens of unsaved numbers. When I scrolled far enough back, I found a fragment of a message chain, cut off midway. Last time was risky, maybe next weekend. Same hotel? No name, just a number with the last 4 digits, 9327. The final nudge came when I was helping her pack for a women's leadership summit in San Antonio. While zipping up her travel bag, I felt something rigid tucked between her shoes and a cosmetic case. Another phone, a burner, different from the one I'd found in her gym bag. This one was on. It lit up when I brushed against the button. Locked, but the wallpaper was a photo, not of us, not even of Ethan. It was a lake, but not our lake house, a different one. The reflection of someone on the dock, facing away from the camera, wearing a blue dress. I turned the phone off, slid it back, zipped the bag closed, and sat on the bed for 5 minutes just breathing, in and out. That night, I checked the smart lock on our front door. We had a digital system I set up years ago, one of those apps that records every time a code is used. Ashley had her own code. I hadn't looked at the log in months. Turns out, she had used her code to enter a rental property. One I didn't even recognize. Not our house. A townhouse about 10 minutes from downtown. I stared at the entry history, for entries in the last month. Each one during work hours. All lasting over 2 hours. I didn't say anything that night, or the next. I just started digging deeper. I logged into our Uber account and cross-referenced her claimed trips with actual destinations. Some were close, others weren't. Twice, she said she was going to brunch with coworkers in Round Rock, but the receipts had her dropped off near Barton Springs. Once, she told me she had a late dinner with the design team, but the ride history ended near a boutique hotel she'd never mentioned before. And one night, I checked the map and watched her stall at a parking garage 2 blocks from Spencer's apartment building for over an hour. It was like watching a lie grow its own legs. She kept up the facade at home. Kisses on the cheek. Mentions of tough meetings and team dynamics. Occasionally she'd complain about Spencer. How controlling he was with budgets. How he didn't understand creative energy. That part made me laugh bitterly. If she was trying to throw me off, it was almost insulting. The hardest part wasn't the lies. It was the way she looked at me like I was the one changing. Like I was the one pulling away. Every so often she'd say something like, "Are you okay? You've been really quiet lately?" And I'd nod, swallow lie. But inside, I wasn't quiet. I was on fire. I was collecting every inconsistency, every subtle shift. I was building a case not for court, not yet, but for clarity, for truth. Because what she didn't know was that I'd booked a client trip to Houston, and I was coming home a day early. The decision to come back early wasn't impulsive. I'd planned it a week in advance, kept it quiet, even booked my return flight on a separate itinerary so it wouldn't show up on our shared travel calendar. Ashley thought I was in Houston until Friday evening. But by Thursday at noon, I was already heading south on I-10, watching the skyline of the city shrink in my rearview mirror. The townhouse had been sitting in the back of my mind for weeks. Tucked into a narrow street near South Congress, it wasn't flashy. Just 3 identical units with keypad locks and generic landscaping. But the lock records didn't lie. Ashley had entered that place 4 times in the last month. I ran a property lookup and found it was managed as a short-term corporate rental. Booked under a corporate card from her company, but not in her name. I pulled into a side lot around 2:40 p.m. Parked facing away from the street, and waited. I wasn't sure what I expected. Maybe nothing. Maybe just a quiet, empty townhouse with no proof of anything. But at exactly 2:57, the smart lock notification hit my phone. Ashley's code, used on the townhouse front door. My hands went cold. I waited 5 minutes, got out, and approached on foot. Quiet, controlled. Every footstep felt like walking into a different version of my own life. I stood at the edge of the property, peering through the narrow sidelight window. No sound from inside. No movement. I keyed in a code. The door clicked open. The first thing I noticed was the air cool, freshly circulated, recently lived in. 2 coffee mugs sat in the sink. One still had a ring of foam around the edge, like it had been poured not long ago. A jacket, not hers, was folded over the back of the chair. Keys and a slim black wallet rested on the counter, right next to a takeout bag from a Thai place we used to order from. I stepped further in, slow and deliberate. There was a half-empty bottle of red wine on the side table in the living room. 2 glasses. 1 lipstick stain. A soft thrum came from down the hallway. I followed it. Washer. Running. I opened the laundry closet. Inside were gym clothes, a blouse I'd seen her wear to meetings, and a men's dress shirt, buttoned down, pale blue, still faintly scented with whatever cologne Spencer always wore. I backed up, tried to keep breathing. There was no sign of anyone else in the house. Either they'd left before I arrived or were hiding, but I doubted the latter. I moved quickly now, opening drawers, checking surfaces, glancing at anything that could explain away the uncertainty. I found a charger that didn't match any of Ashley's devices. A receipt on the counter, signed with a messy S at the bottom, for 2 entrees and drinks from the night before. Then I checked the Wi-Fi log. This particular smart rental used an app one was familiar with, one that syncs to a guest account and shows which devices connect. Ashley's phone was listed. Her watch. Even her laptop had pinged the network less than an hour before. One more check. The camera feed. There was a security cam pointed at the entrance, tucked discreetly into the porch light housing. I accessed the footage, just the last 24 hours all stored locally. There she was. 2:57 p.m. Ashley. Blue jeans, sunglasses, tote bag slung over her shoulder. Smiling. Not like someone arriving for a tense conversation. No, like someone arriving home. 30 seconds later, Spencer appeared. Walking behind her, checking his phone, laughing at something she said. They entered together. That's when the silence inside the house made sense. They had already left. I'd missed them by minutes. I sat down at the kitchen island and stared at the empty glasses. One of them still had a smudge of her lipstick. I should have felt rage. But what I felt was worse, confirmation. Quiet, suffocating certainty. I didn't have to guess anymore. I took photos. Everything. The wine glasses, the laundry, the receipt, the Wi-Fi log. I copied the footage from the front porch onto a drive I'd brought just in case. On the kitchen counter, under a magazine, I found a small note, handwritten in her cursive. Get more red next time. Last one was perfect. No signature, just a tiny heart drawn at the bottom. And then, the last thing, a bottle of cologne sitting on the bathroom counter. Spencer's brand. The same scent Ethan once mentioned, saying, "Mom smelled like someone new." I locked up the townhouse and left quietly. Back in my car, I sat for nearly 10 minutes before turning the engine over. My hands were steady now. The adrenaline had passed. I wasn't guessing anymore. I wasn't doubting myself or making excuses for her. I had proof. Real proof. Not just gut feelings or pattern shifts or misplaced earrings. Tangible, time-stamped, GPS-confirmed proof. Ashley was having an affair with Spencer, and she was using work, our family, and every ounce of my patience to cover it up. That night I didn't sleep. Couldn't. She got home late, said the offsite had gone long and traffic was a mess. I nodded, told her dinner was in the fridge. She kissed my cheek and went upstairs to shower. I sat in the living room, scrolling through the photos on my phone, one by one, each one peeling back the last layer of denial. When she came back down, hair damp, wearing one of the oversized t-shirts she always said reminded her of college, I looked at her and wondered if she even realized how deeply I already knew. We watched a movie together. Something forgettable. She laughed at the jokes. I pretended to. Later, when she turned off the lamp and said, "Good night," I just stared at the ceiling. She didn't know yet, but the clock had started ticking, and I wasn't going to wait much longer. The morning after I walked through that townhouse, everything looked different, even though nothing had technically changed. Same coffee pot sputtering in the kitchen. Same quiet shuffle of Ashley making her smoothie while checking emails. Same faint smell of her floral shampoo lingering in the air. But I couldn't look at her the same way anymore. I couldn't hear her voice without picturing the wine glasses, the porch camera footage, the note with the heart at the bottom. She didn't know yet. Not that I knew. Not how much I'd seen. And I didn't tell her, not right away. Because now I wasn't just thinking about me. I was thinking about Ethan. Our son had always been observant, too observant for his own peace of mind. He was 15 now, quiet, thoughtful, the kind of kid who didn't slam doors or yell back, but who noticed everything and stored it somewhere behind those steady eyes. He never said much about Ashley's schedule shifts, but I could see it had started to wear on him. Little things. The way he stopped asking if she'd be at his soccer games. The way he'd glance at the driveway when we pulled in from practice, just to check if her car was there. The way he started calling me directly when he needed a ride instead of texting the family group chat. One night a few weeks before I came home early from Houston, I'd walked outside to find him sitting on the front steps, earbuds in, just watching the street. "Everything okay?" I asked. He shrugged. "Just getting some air." I sat next to him. "It's late." "Yeah, I know." We sat in silence for a while before he spoke again. Low, almost like he didn't mean for me to hear it. "She said she had a late dinner thing," he said. "But I smelled cologne on her when she hugged me goodbye. It wasn't yours." My throat tightened. He didn't look at me, just kept staring at the dark street like he was waiting for it to answer him. "Some guys from the team were talking about their parents," he added after a beat. "And it just made me think. I don't want to end up pretending everything's fine if it's not." I didn't say anything. I didn't know how. But that moment, that quiet, raw moment, never left me. So when I finally decided to act, I started by telling him the truth. Not all the sordid details. Not the hotel receipts or the note or the laundry. Just enough. I told him that things weren't okay. That I'd seen something I couldn't ignore. That I was planning to separate from Ashley. And that I would never lie to him about why. He sat there on the edge of his bed, staring at his hands for a long time. Then he nodded. "I already knew," he said. "I mean, I didn't know everything, but I knew something." When I asked him how he felt, he just looked at me and said, "Relieved, I guess." I was tired of pretending not to notice. That was the hardest part, realizing how much he'd been carrying just to avoid making it harder for me. I told him he'd have a choice in everything that came next. Where he lived, who he talked to, whether or not he wanted to talk to a counselor. He nodded again. No hesitation. "I want to stay with you," he said. And just like that, something clicked into place. Not victory. Not even closure. Just a solid point of reference, like a compass resetting. When I told my parents what was going on, my mom teared up immediately. My dad let out a slow exhale, then said, "Whatever you need, we're here." They didn't ask for all the evidence. Didn't pry. They didn't need to. They'd seen enough at the lake house to know this wasn't a one-time misunderstanding. Ashley didn't know yet. Not until a few days later, when she showed up at the school to try to pick Ethan up early from soccer practice. She hadn't told me she was going. She hadn't told him either. He told me later she was waiting by the car with that same fake smile she used to use when company was over. She said she just wanted to talk. Maybe get ice cream. Spend some time together. Just us. Ethan told her, flat out, I don't want to go with you. She pushed. He refused. When she tried to take his arm, the school's assistant coach intervened. Bless that man. Said Ethan didn't have permission to leave with anyone but the designated guardian. Ashley got defensive, started raising her voice. Campus security got involved. Cameras recorded everything. The guard on duty logged it in the incident report like he was used to breakups turning into custody issues. Later that night, I got a call from the school office to let me know what happened. Ashley didn't mention it when she came home. Not a word. But the following weekend, she brought it up at the kitchen table like it was nothing. He's just confused, she said. You've been poisoning him against me. I didn't yell. I didn't even flinch. I just looked at her and said, you already made your choice. He's just responding to it. She tried crying. Then she tried accusing. Then bargaining. I didn't budge. Ethan didn't speak to her for almost a week after that. He stayed close, asked more questions, offered to help around the house. I could tell he was trying to be strong, trying to act like he wasn't hurt. But he was. One night, I found him sitting on the floor of the garage, fixing up the old fishing rods we used to take to the lake house. He was oiling the reels with surgical precision, headphones in, blinking hard like he was trying not to cry. You okay? I asked, kneeling beside him. He nodded too fast. Yeah, just hard to sleep. I didn't push him. I just sat there. And after a while, he spoke. I used to think you guys were solid. Like other kids complained about their parents fighting. But you two always smiled in photos. Photos aren't the full story, I said. He nodded. Yeah, I know that now. That hurt more than anything. Knowing he was learning about betrayal through his own mother. After that, he agreed to see the school counselor. Said he just needed to talk to someone who wasn't in the middle of everything. I supported him fully. The counselor's notes later said Ethan was processing the situation with uncommon maturity. But I already knew that. He was growing up faster than I ever wanted him to. Ashley's next move came a few days later. An email to the school accusing me of manipulating Ethan and turning him against her. She demanded joint decision-making privileges and threatened to escalate to a lawyer if they didn't restore balance. The school forwarded the message to me, along with a note from the principal. Let us know if legal counsel is involved. For now, we're following established guardianship protocol. Translation: they weren't buying it. I showed Ethan the message. He didn't even blink. She still thinks this is about her, he said. And he was right. Ashley wasn't trying to fix anything. She was trying to reclaim control. Over the story. Over the narrative. Over Ethan. But the damage had already been done. She wasn't losing her family. She had already lost it. I filed for divorce the following Monday morning. There was no more waiting. No more second-guessing. I had the evidence, the timeline, the receipts, the security footage. Hell, I even had the camera still images printed and stored in a locked drawer. But most importantly, I had Ethan's trust. And I wasn't going to let Ashley compromise that any further. My lawyer, Angela, had seen her share of messy breakups. But even she raised an eyebrow at the sheer volume of documentation I handed over during our intake meeting. You've got enough to build a small courtroom exhibit, she said, flipping through the folder. I don't want revenge, I told her. I want custody, full custody, and I want it clean. She nodded. You've got a solid case, especially with the school incident, the second phone, the smart lock logs. This kind of digital evidence is hard to dispute. Within 48 hours, the paperwork was served. Ashley didn't take it well. She called 3 times in a row. I didn't answer. Then she texted, "You're blowing this way out of proportion. Can we please talk before you destroy everything? This isn't just about you. You're affecting Ethan's life too." That last one made me laugh. Darkly, bitterly, as if she hadn't been affecting his life all along. When I didn't respond, she took it public. Instagram stories. Vague posts with captions like, "When someone shows you who they really are, and betrayal hurts most when it wears the face of someone you trusted. She posted a filtered selfie, eyes red like she'd been crying, and tagged it with #healing #singlemomstrong. It didn't take long for mutual friends to start reaching out. A few even DM'd me asking what happened, saying she was really hurting. I didn't explain myself, didn't post my side, didn't share the videos or screenshot *TS or receipts. But I did quietly send a digital file to my attorney with all the evidence. Properly organized, time-stamped, cataloged. In court, silence speaks just as loudly as drama, especially when backed by facts. Ashley, meanwhile, doubled down. She submitted a formal response to the court claiming neglect. Said I was emotionally distant, uninvolved with Ethan's schooling, and unavailable during key developmental years due to career prioritization. Angela and I responded by submitting a counterpacket. Travel receipts, showing I hadn't missed a single parent-teacher conference in 3 years. Smart lock logs showing Ashley's absences. Therapist notes, confirming Ethan's expressed desire to live with me full-time. Even a notarized letter from the school coach detailing the attempted pickup incident. But the biggest blow came from someone I didn't expect to get involved. Emily, Spencer's wife. I barely knew her. We'd met once, awkwardly, at a holiday mixer where she complimented Ashley's shoes and made polite small talk about travel. She seemed composed, quiet, maybe a little tired around the eyes. But apparently she had known more than she let on. A week after I filed, I received an email from her personal address. Subject, "You're not alone." Inside, a brief message. "Hi Noah. I found out about Spencer and Ashley a few weeks ago. I'm so sorry. If you're willing to speak, I think I can help. Emily." I met her at a coffee shop the next day. She came prepared. Printouts, screen captures, a spreadsheet of dates Spencer had traveled for work that aligned perfectly with Ashley's off-site trips. She'd already filed for separation and submitted an HR complaint at their company citing inappropriate conduct and conflict of interest. She was calm, methodical, not angry, just done. "You deserve full custody," she said, sliding the papers toward me. "Your son deserves better than this." I thanked her. I meant it. The ripple effects didn't stop there. That same week, Spencer was asked to step away from his CFO role while the company launched an internal audit. It turned out there were expense reports, travel, meals, lodging flagged under projects that didn't exist. Some of them matched up with hotel invoices tied to Ashley's loyalty number. Others were filed under dummy clients that, conveniently, no one in accounting had heard of. The audit team didn't need long to connect the dots. Rumors started circulating within the company. First quietly, HR meetings behind closed doors, canceled Q4 planning sessions. Then louder, people noticed when Spencer's company email stopped working. When Ashley's name was removed from a major presentation she was scheduled to lead. When someone found out the hotel she booked for the leadership retreat wasn't even in the same state as the client site she claimed to visit. They both became radioactive. One of Ashley's friends, someone who used to tag her in yoga memes and dog videos, texted me late one night. "Hey, I didn't know everything. I'm sorry. I hope Ethan's okay." He was getting there. We started therapy together. Just once a week, for now. Ethan didn't say much in the sessions, but his presence said enough. He showed up. He listened. And when the therapist asked if he wanted to share how he felt about the home situation, he said this: "I feel better now that there's no more pretending. At home, things got simpler, quieter. Weekends became ours again. I taught Ethan how to make pancakes from scratch. Burned the first 3 attempts, but he laughed harder than I'd heard in months. We built a routine around school, practice, homework, and the occasional late-night basketball game on TV. My parents stepped up even more. My mom stocked our fridge with leftovers. My dad gave Ethan his old fishing tackle box. The lake house, once tainted by that lunch, slowly became ours again, without shadows. Ashley tried to get ahead of the story at school. She emailed a few of Ethan's teachers, claiming I was limiting her access. But the school administrator responded directly, citing the official custody filing. When she tried to show up at a school fundraiser, the campus security team recognized her from the footage of the attempted pickup and turned her away. She didn't take it well. Her posts became more desperate. She uploaded photos of Ethan from years ago with captions like, "My everything. No one will ever take you from me." One of the teachers reported it to the district counselor, who then filed a concern with the court. That ended up working in my favor too. By the time our first hearing rolled around, Ashley's narrative was unraveling faster than she could patch it. She arrived in court with a prepared speech about being a misunderstood mother trying to balance a career and motherhood. But the judge didn't care about speeches. He cared about facts, and we had all of them. In court, Ashley's claims unraveled under documented evidence: smart lock logs, hotel invoices, message threads. Her attempt to paint herself as a neglected wife failed against video footage and testimony from Ethan's school. The judge awarded me full custody, with Ashley restricted to supervised visits and mandatory therapy. Spencer was forced to resign. His company's audit flagged financial misconduct tied to the affair. Ashley moved into a small apartment, her attempts to contact Ethan dwindling. I focused on rebuilding, weekends at the lake, therapy, slow mornings without tension. Ethan laughed more. The silence that once felt like avoidance turned into peace. No more lies, no more shadows, just the two of us healing together. The chaos was over. For the first time in years, life felt like it belonged to us again.